Now, to look at another story getting coverage around the world, the arrest of Justin Bieber. Well, over the past 24 hours since that story broke, we at BBC World News have received criticism about the amount of coverage that we've given the arrest. So let's discuss why this is or is not a news story. We can join Lucas, who is in the World's newsroom for us. This has been quite a big thing for us, hasn't it, Lucas? Just discussing where we should put Justin Bieber in the running order, whether or not it's a story.
Lucy, I want to start actually by asking you a question. You tweeted yesterday when the story broke about his arrest. What was some of the response that you got after doing that?
Within seconds, I have to say, Lucas, I got comments from people saying, breaking news, this isn't a story. The stories of the day are Syria, what's happening in the Central African Republic. Even people were saying we'd rather hear what's happening in Davos with some of those movers and shakers than anything to do with Justin Bieber.
Absolutely, and there's a big question around whether this is a news story. If we take some of these examples, it definitely is. These are some of the British newspapers that have been out there. Justin Bieber, Justin Bieber, Justin Bieber up there on the Mail, more Bieber down the bottom, and even a little Bieber over there in the Gulf News as well. They're covering the story in the Arabic states also. I want to talk about our online presence, because this isn't a chance to justify why we at BBC World are covering it, but discuss around why this is a news story. Samantha Barry, you had a big discussion yesterday, didn't you, when it came to posting this story on our Facebook page. What were some of the decisions that were made in the end?
It was something that we tackled with and we worried about, so some of us didn't want to post it on Facebook and others said it was a news story, and it was something that people in particular on that online forums were talking about, and in that online space we did post it. It's one of many stories that we posted yesterday. We did a pretty quick intro into it and just a very, very clean news line of Justin Bieber has been arrested. We didn't give it massive prominence over anything else. We got a lot of negative reactions for doing that, people taking to the page, in particular asking, who cares, why is this news? And people saying, BBC, why are you posting this? But then you look at the numbers, Lucas. So out of every single story that we posted yesterday on bbc.com on the online space, Syria, Davos, Indian stories, Justin Bieber got 2.2 million hits on a news story and was by far the most popular news story yesterday.
Excellent, Sam. Thank you very much for that little bit of insight. I want to show you some pictures about the interest behind this. These are some of the media that are around covering this Justin Bieber story when he was in the courthouse yesterday. Hundreds and thousands of different media outlets from all around the world. But right now we'll come back to the BBC's newsroom because I want to talk to one of our BBC World News editors. Rupert, you're an editor on BBC World News. Tell us a little bit about why we covered this story.
Well, I think for certainly a part of our audience, it was a big story, particularly we think amongst the the younger members of our audience. He's obviously a big star, a big cultural icon, and something of a role model to younger people. So that we sort of judged the story on its own merits, and we thought that given the serious nature of the criminal charges, it was a new story worth doing. And so then it was the question of where we'd put it in the running order. And if you look at our running orders from yesterday, actually, if I'll just show you on the computer here.
It's just down here on the screen.
We did the story, but we did it behind a lot of our serious news stories yesterday. So we were leading on South Sudan at 6 o'clock. We had an awful lot of coverage of the Ukraine protests, but we did it. But right at the bottom of the running order. So if you spool down, you can see Justin Bieber right down at the bottom, almost the last item. So I think we did the story, but we didn't overdo it, and I don't think we did it at the expense of other more significant stories that were around yesterday.
Now, people will argue entertainment's becoming a big factor in the news. Do you think that's changed, or is this something we would have reported very similarly 10 or 15 years ago?
It's difficult really to judge whether we'd have done it 10 or 15 years ago. Maybe not in the same way. I mean, entertainment is out there. It's out there all the time. You could look at any number of websites, and obviously TMZ in America has lots of stories about Justin Bieber, which we never touch. Lots of papers in England do lots of sort of celebrity tittle-tattle, you might call it. And I think if you were to do an audit of our running orders, you could see that barely ever makes it into our running orders. So we sort of judge each story on its individual merits. And yesterday, because of the criminality or the alleged criminality involved, that's why we decided to run the Bieber story.
Excellent, Rupert. Thank you very much. World editor at BBC News here. Lucy, I have to say, I read the newspaper this morning. I'm not a massive Bieber fan, but I read every single piece of that article. It's something that does grab people.